And that was the first time I had correct.
Welcome to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. I am one of your hosts, G. As always, I am joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. How are you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good, actually. I mean, busy day at work, but really eventful weekend, I'd say.
Yeah,
Lots of laughs to end the week with.
I would definitely say so. And it's good to see Eric not in his Tarkov cave right now. And, actually
Barely,
he
barely,
exists. We're
barely.
we're almost surprised right now.
The Saints not making the playoffs would usually bother me a little bit, but having Tarkov, and that's just like, I'll be honest with you, I played Tarkov during the entire game, didn't even watch.
Did
I
not want
mean,
this
it
team
did.
in the
Didn't mean
playoffs.
Yeah,
anything. Didn't mean anything.
yeah. It's the sweet release of just I mean, it's not like this season was kind of like, especially towards the end, you kind of didn't care as much, but now we like really don't care. And that's kind of a fun way to watch football. So for all of our football fans who are listening, uh it's playoff season. So hopefully if your team made it, good luck. Unless you are a San Francisco fan, because I want them to lose. But we have some fun stuff in store for you guys today. Also, we do have some exciting news. We have our first interview of 2024 coming on next week's show. It is a huge privilege and honor. We're not going to say who it is because, we like to keep the people guessing a little bit. But we will be officially announcing who it is later this week. So please stay tuned as we're really, really excited. And this is somebody who has been a huge part of gaming and who's a huge part of an upcoming title very soon. So just stay tuned. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's kick off with what are you playing? Eric, I'm going to start off with you because this is probably the easiest one. Uh, Eric, what have you been playing?
Keep from Tarkov. And basically the same thing. I will give my thoughts because they did put out a new starter map. We talked about that a little bit last
We
week.
did.
And I'm going to give my thoughts on it because I have finished my quest on that starter map.
Okay.
One of them was a pain in the ass, and it took me a long time to finish it. I didn't finish it till early Sunday. But this map is really awesome. And I think if you've been on the fence about getting Tarkov, you wouldn't be bad off if you got in now because this first map, even though like there's still a huge learning curve, you need to learn like what you need to take out in and out of raid, stuff like that. This is your best chance to learn PvP because this map is small. It puts a lot of player PMCs in there. Player scavs get in within the first 10 minutes of the raid. And just to explain this for people who don't play, you have PMCs who are like the players who actually need to go out, collect stuff, and escape. Scavs are like your guys who like if you die with this stuff, it doesn't matter. You don't need that stuff typically. I mean, it helps you just get money and stuff like that for your PMC. You can sell the stuff you get as a scav. And then there's the scavs are the AI who fight you as a PMC. And then player scavs get in really early and it just gets real hot. Like within the first 5 minutes of every raid, sometimes you can even load in. As soon as you load in, you just hear gunfire going off because people are running into each other. It's awesome. But with this wipe, they released Escape from Tarkov Arena. And this is a 5v5 death match. First to 5 rounds wins. You have preset loadouts you can purchase. Different classes, scout, assault, CQB, a shotgun class, sniper class. And to get to the next tier, you have to play as these classes and level them up.
Okay.
And as you level up, you get to the next tier, and then you keep going, everything like that. But as you like winning gets you a certain amount of XP, you still get XP for losing, but it'll take you longer to level up. But you start out with like a certain amount of money and you buy these loadouts at the beginning of every match. If you win, you keep the loadout and you don't have to keep buying it.
Oh shit. Okay.
So it can be easy to level up. I leveled up off my first one pretty quick because we won like 4 or 5 games in a row. And I was getting a lot of kills. With the second loadout, didn't work out so well. We lost a lot. So it's Tarkov's one of those things where like if you're good at the game, like it's tons of fun. If you're not good at the game, it's not fun. That's the best way I can say it. Nothing gives me an adrenaline high like Tarkov. Dash got to sample me and my boys playing. He was listening to us play the other day and watching a stream. and he just hears everybody yelling at each other because everything's all based off sound. You need to listen, move slow, and it's hard to explain. There's no highs like it in gaming that I've ever gotten. No
Pretty high
lows like
praise.
that. No lows like it either.
Also pretty low praise. So, Dash, what about you, man? What have you been playing?
Well, I'm going to start off with going by something I forgot to mention last week that I played, and I think it would be a shame not to highlight such a game, which is Dredge. So I forgot to mention I 100% completed Dredge over that like Christmas vacation break.
Yeah.
Took about 16 hours for me to 100% it, but it's a really cool Lovecraftian like indie game where you're just on a boat fishing and you got to upgrade your ship to go faster, hold more stuff. You can have like nets and different kinds of fishing poles because there's different types of fishing spots.
That's cool.
But there's a really kind of neat little plot that it's kind of like you don't really know much about what's going on in the beginning. And then you beat the game. And if you get the good ending or the secret ending, I guess there's two endings, the bad ending and the good ending. If you get that good ending, you kind of get like more context at the beginning, and then it kind of all comes together. You're like, oh, that makes sense now, kind of stuff. Like stuff kind of just like they sprinkle in those little hints about what the core plot is, but you don't really know it until the end. But
That's awesome.
really scary in the beginning when your ship sucks and it's slow, so you can't really spend too much time far away from islands at night. You gotta pretty much hope that you get back in time because you're gonna get fucked up. But as you get better stuff on your ship, you can brave the nights, no problem. But really great game, really worth the time I put into it because I couldn't stop going back into it to make sure I 100% it. I had the hardest part was just finding every fish because some fish are just pure chance, and then there's also the achievement to get every aberrant version of a fish, which is kind of like some mutated version of this fish, which there's only a small percentage chance to get those. So you kind of just have to be patient. But definitely would recommend. I know it was nominated for Best Indie Game during the Game Awards. So it was probably my vote, honestly, between that or Sea of Stars.
That's awesome.
But in the meantime, it's always just been Modern Warfare. Didn't really touch Fortnite this week, I don't think. A lot more Lethal Company, so I think that's probably been what I mostly played was Lethal Company. So like every night pretty much I've had this group that we get about 6, 7, 8 people. At one point we had 10 people in this lobby, and
It's gotta be pure chaos.
It's chaos, and it's just nothing but Titan runs because we got up to a 2K quota, and
wow.
Then we finally failed. It was like 2,200 and something.
Oh, for how many days?
I'm not sure. I mean, because you do for each quota, it's 3 days basically.
Wow.
So you use those 3 days to get as much loot as you can. Then on that last day, you go and sell everything.
Yeah.
Because on the last day, it's 100% sale price.
Yeah.
If you go earlier, you're not going to get the full value. The only benefit of going earlier is if you happen to wipe, you don't lose, you already have money, you don't lose everything. But that's usually why you gotta play smart. Like usually it's just pure chaos in the beginning, everybody runs inside, but after someone stays behind on a return trip eventually, and eventually, you're gonna have dogs and giants in the ship. Or in our case, we had like 4 mimics because a couple people got infected, so most of them came back to the ship. And while we're fighting off the mimics, the dogs, of course, heard the noise inside the ship and come charging into the ship. So I think someone barely managed to get the ship launched off at that point. But I mean, Titan is the scariest planet on the. I think there's one moment, I got so many clips I haven't even uploaded. Like what like I just see someone get grabbed by a bracket, and I'm just charging after it. I'm like, give me my friend back.
It is such a cool game, and it's insane that it was developed, I think, by a single person.
Yeah, I kind of like actually watched like this whole hour and a half like background on like Lethal Company. The dude's like talking about like what this guy was like. he was like 14 making all these different Roblox custom games that were like
Right.
horror games also. And so he's been doing this for a long time. I think he's like probably he's like early 20s right now. And he just
Yeah.
sold like 2.8 million in his like game that he just sold. So he's like, he hit the gold here. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what he does because I mean, this is still technically early access.
Yeah.
So,
Imagine what he could do with like a true budget
yeah.
and, getting backed by somebody. So it'll be cool. I mean, there's a lot of room to grow. And even since it first launched in early access on Steam, it's been growing tremendously.
It never gets old, at least for
Yeah.
me. Like
It's
you could-
always unique.
but besides Lethal Company and my downtime, I'll just hop on. I'm doing like a playthrough of Alan Wake right now. Just gonna. I mean, I think I sent you the picture when I realized because I it's been so long since I touched Alan Wake, and before I get to Alan Wake 2, I want to replay the first one. So I'm like, oh yeah,
it's a
oh
good
shit.
idea.
So those old gods of Asgard were actually in the first game. I totally
They are.
forgot that.
There's a lot of Swedish influence throughout the game, and obviously they're a big part of that. But you get to experience it a bit in Control too with Ahti, and there's a lot of links between Control in Alan Wake 2. So don't necessarily want to spoil anything, but it's a good one. I will say I think I've cooled a bit more on my stance that I didn't love the level design as much. I think I need to replay it, but I think I was just so frustrated with a specific level, and now that I know how to do it, like I would be fine. So
Yeah, I
We'll
gotta
see.
say, like, Alan Wake definitely is gold just in the way like it has that unique way of handling enemies because it's not just your traditional, oh yeah, just shoot them because you have to balance light and then shoot. I've seen like streamers where they'll just be shooting them while they're still shrouded in darkness. I'm like, what are you doing? You're wasting ammo kind of shit.
Yeah.
But oh man. Unfortunately, I can't play on nightmare mode, so I can't get everything. I'm trying to do like 100%. I think I did miss one thermostat though, so I'm fuck. But
Have to
anyways,
restart the whole game now.
they don't have chapter select.
I have no idea.
They don't. I'm fucked because I'm not going back to do all that again. Oh man, I'm kind of like on the Remedy binge now that I think about it because previously it was all the
Max
Max Payne
Payne,
games. Now
yeah.
now I'm jumping to Alan Wake, so maybe I'll pick up Control and
Do it.
Quantum Break. Maybe I have
I've
not
actually never played Quantum Break, so
I don't know
couldn't
anything
give-
about it, but I just know it's a Remedy game, so that's about it.
I do know that there is a big Quantum Break Easter egg in Alan Wake 2. So
Okay.
not gonna spoil anything, but I don't know much about the game. But there is one thing I know, and it's in that one. So
Part of me's trying to learn that choreography from the Herald of Darkness.
gonna see Dash's dancing skills on one of these shows at one point.
I'll butcher it so badly. I just love how like Sam Lake just takes the opportunity.
He's
to
just
perform
fully
in it.
invested. He is
has that-
100% him.
He has that face just to be in these.
He's like a
projects that.
cool Elon Musk.
Ugh.
He just oozes like this suaveness of a video game designer. But
That's it for me.
so this week I have played quite a bit of Destiny 2. I mentioned it last week. I was kind of getting back into it. Iron Banner came up this week and had a hell of a time playing this week. I played a new game mode on it that I hadn't really been familiar with. Destiny is awesome when it is awesome. And right now it's in the good time. So we'll see how long that trend continues. I'm still not max light levels. There is still like stuff to do, and there's events and things like that to play with friends. So we'll see. I'm not sure how long this is going to go, but it's fun right now, and we're kind of in a slower period in between games. So it's kind of easy to be able to switch those things around. Also played a lot of Final Fantasy 13. I'm about 25 hours in, and I'm farther than I've ever been in the story. So I'm in untreaded waters right now. And I would say that honestly, the game is pretty good. a lot of people tend to shit on Final Fantasy 13, and I can definitely understand why. It's a very linear game. There are the voice acting is good, but it's not great. I will say graphically, for being like a PS3, Xbox 360 era game, it does still look really good though. And yeah, I will say that honestly, it's just pretty fun. And then
I just hate hope.
played played a good bit of Madden, played a good bit, a little bit of COD, and yeah, I think that's about it. I'm getting ready for some of the big heavy hitters coming out over the next few weeks. So I'm trying not to, you know, apply myself so much, I guess, to one single game right now. But speaking of new games coming out, we're going to talk about some of the biggest games that are coming out for January. Some of these are ones that we're pretty excited about. Some of them, me, you know, it's January and we're following up again, probably one of the greatest years in gaming of all time. So here is a list of some of the biggest games that are coming out for us in January. We've got Bulletstorm VR. For those who didn't know, Bulletstorm was a 2011 first-person shooter. They made a like upscaled, upgraded version for the PS4, and now they've actually made a VR version. And I mean, VR obviously is going to always kind of be a step behind AAA, except for when it comes. Resident Evil is like the one game for some reason that seems to be able to take advantage of like modern VR. But Bulletstorm, I will say, looks pretty decent for a VR game. I'm not the hugest fan of the original game, but I know a lot of people are.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's a decently fun game. It's just not anything that I like. It's not groundbreaking. It was kind of a.
I think what it did well was that environmental, just like
Yeah.
everything. It was like you had so many different ways of killing people, and I think it was really meant to kind of just be like one of those score-based games where it's like try to get your highest score possible.
Yeah.
Let's see what's insane way someone's going to get a high score online is. I
Yeah.
never beat it though. I'm pretty sure I only just like rented it from like Family Video.
Yeah,
Just
I
kinda
think-
like
I think I did the same. So, in addition to Bulletstorm VR, we also have Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. So, Prince of Persia is taking a step back into the platformer with a lot of like anime influence. The art style has totally changed up. I'm a big fan. I know a lot of people weren't, but it's like more of like platformer Metroidvania style of game now. Which, if you didn't know, the original Prince of Persia was like that. It's kind of funny because Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake got announced by Ubisoft. I don't know, what was it, 3 years ago? And it was actually supposed to come out late 2023. And then they just kind of put it on the back burner. And people don't know if it's going to come out at this point, or at least when it's going to go ahead and come out. I don't think it's necessarily in like KOTOR, territory, because we've actually seen gameplay and like footage of this game. So it's hard to say whether or not like it's going to have like significant delays past this point. But I will say this new Prince of Persia looks like a breath of fresh air. I also think it's actually going to be coming to Game Pass as well. So definitely something to be able to go ahead and check out. In addition to Prince of Persia, we have The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. And we have kind of beat the horse to death in terms of Naughty Dog and their obsession with remakes and remasters. That being said, for $10, Last of Us Part 2 remastered is going to be a pretty easy buy for me. Dash, I think you said you were going to pick it up as well.
just for that roguelike.
Yeah, the
why not?
roguelike mode is going to be really cool. Like if it was simply just like upgrading the fidelity and the performance of the game with full, DualSense, like even then I probably would have picked it up for $10 because it's $10. It's not anything too crazy. But with that new mode, I think it is going to be something pretty fun. So it'll be coming out on January 19th. If you own the PS4 version again, you can get it for $10. Otherwise, I think it's going to be $50 for the remastered version. So definitely something to just kind of watch out for. So there are two more major releases that I wanted to talk about. One is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. So Yakuza fans have, it's fair to say that they've been eating pretty well the last few years, because you've had, Like a Dragon was, the first big Yakuza game that shifted your protagonist, and two really, really strong reviews. I know that a lot of people, myself included, I actually really enjoyed Like a Dragon quite a bit, which is basically Yakuza 7. We've also just had Like a Dragon Ishin. We've also just had Like a Dragon Gaiden. And the studio is just kind of continually pumping out these titles. So, I mean, it just seems like this is probably going to be a lot more of, what's made this series pretty special. I'm excited to kind of see how they go ahead and move that story forward, and, what's going to end up happening there. But another big title coming out this month. And then last but not least, one of Dash's most anticipated titles for 2024 so far, Tekken 8. We are kind of in a renaissance for fighting games. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, both were pretty strong games last year. The thing is, most people tend to stick with what they know and love. If you're a Street Fighter guy, you tend to stick with Street Fighter. If you're a Mortal Kombat guy, you tend to stick with Mortal Kombat, or other NetherRealm games, whether it be, Injustice or whatever that may be. I'm a Marvel versus Capcom guy, but I don't know that we're ever going to get another MVC game ever again. So Tekken 8 is coming out, and it's been a few years since we had Tekken 7, the death of Heihachi, which is, I'm sorry for spoilers if that's a 5-year-old game or maybe even longer. But ultimately, I mean, Tekken 8 looks like it's just going right back to the roots of what makes the game special. Dash, what are you most excited about this game for?
Always the player customization. I mean, you could do so much ways of customizing your character to make them look however you want. And so that's always just been my favorite part of Tekken. Also, whenever I visit my friends in Indiana, we always do like Tekken fights and stuff. I'll get drunk and still be beating everybody's ass and stuff. There was like one time, like my friend was pissed at me because I was just like, I had a drink in one hand, I was playing with the controller in the other, and I was still kicking his ass in Tekken. I'm like, it was like one of those like chairs that's like on the ground, and I just leaned back all the way, not even looking at the screen, and I was winning. He's like, I got a drunken fist in Tekken. It's really great, and the story is going to be fantastic. I mean, the story for 7 was like a very cinematic one. Usually they didn't have like story modes until I think it was like six might have been the first story mode.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
All the other ones were more you do the arcade mode, and that's like everybody's story mode at the end. Or you had like, they always have like those little like extra game modes where it's like a adventure, like beat 'em up kind of thing, where it's not really a fighting game. I think this one's gonna have one too. I think they kind of showed snippets of it, and it looks kind of cool. So we'll see how that goes. I don't really do Tekken online though, so I don't care about fighting people because there's always like the network latencies and stuff that you have to deal with. Another thing that we can probably look forward to is guest characters, because Tekken 7 was heavy on the guest characters. Yeah, the Street Fighter, the Grey Geese or whatever his name was. I can't remember. He's from a different fighting game though. I can't remember what it's called.
Noctis, I know, was a
Noctis, yep.
Yeah.
Negan from
The Walking Dead.
That was like the most out-pocket guest star I've ever seen.
Yeah. So
like you would expect it for Mortal Kombat, but for Tekken.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, what should they do for guest characters in this game? Part of me wants them to do like Baki, because Baki would just probably be perfect. Like, give me like Baki Hama or Yujiro Hama.
Maybe we'll get some more Square Enix love, and you'll be able to get Clive or
Oh, imagine Clive in this.
Clive Rossfield and Tekken
Or,
8.
or just give us like Tifa.
She I mean she kind of fits already in the fighting,
Yeah,
genre
exactly.
of it all. So that would actually be pretty cool. And with FF7 Rebirth right around the corner, it'd be a nice little, marketing ploy to be able to go ahead and do that. So
Speaking of like crossovers with Final Fantasy, have you seen that Apex Legends one that's
I
coming up?
have. The Tifa one is, or not Tifa, but the Aerith one is very odd looking because it looks like Aerith, but then the more you look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is not Aerith, and something is wrong. Something does not look the way it's supposed to. And but no, I mean it's do whatever you can to promote your game. I know that Final Fantasy VII is obviously like a huge financial just like investment from Square, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how it progresses sales wise, because obviously for each iteration it's going to sell just a tiny bit less and less each game because not everybody is going to play the next game and play the next game, so it does get to be a little bit less, but should be a good time, and I'm sure they'll release some big all FF7 remake complete collection with all three games at some point, and it'll have this sweet collector's edition because that's what they do. So well, we got a really big, weird, interesting bit of news, and Eric has played so much Tarkov this week that he didn't even know about it until we were going to talk about it tonight. So there have been some rumors coming out of Xbox potentially looking at moving some of their titles to other platforms. So, and I don't mean just PC. So the rumors are specifically Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves are going to be moving to both Switch and PS5, which is I wouldn't say it's like something that is not totally out of the blue. Xbox has shown I think a tendency and like a want to kind of have some of their games everywhere. It is, this is kind of the first time we're seeing some of these lines kind of cross, though. We did see a little bit previously where you had Death Stranding was released on Xbox as well, and it actually came to Game Pass at one point, which it is, see PlayStation Studios and then Xbox. It a little weird at first, but I did want to just get your guys' take because this could mean so much for like the future of gaming. Does this mean I think that in like within the next 5 years we're going to be able to play like God of War on Xbox? I don't think so. But does it make it more of a possibility that we do see some like other franchises, maybe some things that are not like some of their hugest games, maybe switching over? Absolutely. Like I think of games like Ratchet and Clank and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I think those would find a huge audience on Xbox because,
And Switch, I'd say. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And so, and Rift Apart might have some trouble in terms of like technological prowess on the Switch because I mean, it's a very resource heavy game just on the PS5 itself and on PC. But there is a lot of like potential there. So I wanted to kind of get because this obviously opens up a much broader conversation here when we're talking about console exclusivity, which has been something that has been like at the forefront because console exclusivity can be a very positive thing. I think that in different iterations of like each console generation, that exclusivity has proved to create more competition between these different gaming companies, and in turn it's pushed them to create better games. Like take the PS3 Xbox 360 era. Xbox 360 kind of just like whipped their butt, and now I think that pushed PlayStation to like focus so heavily on one their technology, their games, and their studios to create just like really solid games. And you saw, especially at the end of the PS4 life cycle, we've talked about it a lot. Like they just pumped out hit after hit after hit after hit. Like for like a 3 year span, those were just unreal games. And I'm sure that like that's what happens when you get closer to the end of a console's life cycle, because they know exactly how they can take advantage and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to get your guys' take on what, I guess, what does this future look like now? But and what would you like to see? Like what in terms of this crossover, is this a good thing for gaming? And if so, like how do they kind of advance this?
I think it is a good thing of gaming because I mean, it's just kind of not good to restrict certain games to certain platforms just because.
Yeah.
You know, it can be kind of like, you punish a consumer because they didn't buy your console kind of stuff. But I can understand why. I think the reason they're doing this, and we kind of covered this before, where it's just kind of like games are getting more expensive to make. So they need to expand their potential market
Yeah.
for some of these games. So like you brought up Ratchet and Clank. That was like, didn't that, if we go to those Insomniac leaks, that one didn't it like barely made a profit or something like that? Like
It
was
actually
like,
may have even been a loss. And
it was
so
almost, it was like maybe a couple $100.
It was on the cusp. Yeah, it was on the cusp.
Yeah. Yeah. So you put those games that might not be your big hitters, but can sell decently, and you bring them into another console's market, then suddenly now you can actually make profit on more of these questionable games. Like you might not bring Spider-Man in because that's going to sell like hotcakes, but the other games that you might be more questionable, you might as well just kind of expand the. But then that might also increase the development costs. I'm not sure how much it would cost to add in a whole nother console into that mix, but I think this is potentially why they're doing it, and it doesn't hurt to do it because more people should be able to enjoy more games.
yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And one point I do want to clarify on that. I think it's cheaper for them to optimize a game for an Xbox Series X than it would be for them to optimize it for PC. So, but with, on the PlayStation side of things, if you are going to go ahead and open it up, let's say for some other games, you do also have to be able to optimize it for Series S as well. And that is, I mean, it's kind of a big point of contention because like it is just such a parity in power. There's not, I wish so badly that Xbox could, differentiate a little bit when they're developing, because the Series X is just as powerful as like a PS5, and it takes advantage of the hardware. It's what a true next gen console. Like a Series S truly feels like kind of it takes the best of the Xbox One and Series models and kind of just molds them a little bit. But Eric, I also wanted to get your thoughts, man. What like is this something you'd like to see? And if so, how do you think that this kind of moves forward?
Oh, for sure. And I do think the possibility of them having like a Game Pass Lite
Yeah,
on both the Switch and the PlayStation would be a really good thing because they don't have to necessarily put their big hitters on there,
yeah,
but you do like a thing to add on to PlayStation Plus or anything like that, or even if it's like $2 or $3 a month on your PlayStation that they
yeah.
just can get to, and you can play smaller games like Pillars of Eternity, Wasteland. You could play some of these games that just don't get a lot
As
of the
much
recognition they
love,
deserve.
yeah.
Yeah, as much love as they deserve. Maybe you can put Halo the Master Chief Collection on PlayStation. Let people play that. They don't have to
Actually a
put the
really good
new
idea.
they don't
That's
have to
always
put
been
the
a
new
dream.
they don't have to put the new Halos on there, but you can be like, damn, I'm missing out on this. Maybe I should get something that can run it.
Yeah, I'm playing the Master Chief collection, and I'm like, oh man, I don't have Halo 5 or Infinite. Like maybe I can. Nobody has ever muttered those those same like words in a sentence ever before, but because if you're listening to this, the original Halo trilogy is peak. There,
Mhm.
it just doesn't get
Mhm.
better than that. But for the sake of the story, you want to know what happens to Cortana and you want to know what happens to Master Chief and, how things seem pretty settled at the end of Halo 3. And it's like, okay, well, how does this go ahead and move forward? So I think the Master Chief collection actually includes 4, though, too.
Yep.
So,
And
And
you can
then-
get ODST also.
yeah.
And they can include EA Play with that because you get EA Play with that, and you could play tons of free game. Mass Effect, all the old Mass Effect games are on there. You could play Battlefield 2042 if you don't already have it on PlayStation.
Yeah.
You know,
Unreal.
and I'm sure they could probably get the old Mass Effects to run on the Switch. I don't think that would be a problem. Then
I
you-
really
No,
think
I
that
don't
would
think
be I think it'd be a pretty easy thing to optimize because I mean they look better obviously than they did prior, but I mean it still doesn't. It looks like a early PS4 game. Like
Yeah,
when
I
you-
mean, if the Switch can play Witcher 3, it should be able to play Mass Effect.
Oh,
Legend.
100%. And so, I mean, you bring these games that just were generational, like Mass Effect and stuff like that, and you give other other segments of the market a chance to play it, and it's great because then they're like, man, what am I missing out by not having actual Game Pass?
Exactly. And it is so cheap to be able to get into the Xbox ecosystem because yes, obviously there is the Game Pass for PC option if you have a PC, but not everybody has one, and a gaming PC is pretty expensive. But I mean, I see people selling their Series S on like, your local marketplaces for like $100, $150 at this point. And I mean, they're even selling them for that price in like Costco right now. So it's never been like more inexpensive to be able to get into this ecosystem. But I definitely agree. Like I love that idea as well of having like a mini Game Pass like as an add-on because I think it's just hard to get kind of all of these people on the same page because I think there has been a bit of a superiority complex from PlayStation. Oh, we had this amazing, generation of games, and then they followed it up by kind of just laying an egg. There's been some really solid titles in the PS5 library, but nothing to the extent that we saw from the PS4.
It's
and even
really
just
slowed down.
yeah, and the development cycle of games obviously is a big part of that, but also a huge shift, potentially looking at games as a service. The acquisition of Bungie for PlayStation was big in what they plan to do for multiplayer, but we've seen them cancel like multiple projects already. The Spider-Man multiplayer project was canceled. We saw the Last of Us multiplayer project, and I think those decisions were probably made for the better. I'm not saying that like that is a bad decision for those studios. I actually think it was mostly good decisions because I think it's always good for studios to try things that are new, but also if you are really good at something, you should continue to do it. Naughty Dog has been made famous for making single player games that are, kind of cinematic and just they pack a punch when it comes to their story. They're not the Uncharted games had some multiplayer, and honestly, it was pretty fun multiplayer as well. But this goes back to our conversation that we had previously, where like games just don't come with a like online multiplayer mode anymore, and it's kind of sad because like you could get some really cool stuff. Like I think of like Resident Evil and how smart it would be for them. They keep trying to do an online game, but it's like people just want Outbreak. That's all they want. And they could include Outbreak as like part of Resident Evil 9 or Resident Evil 5 remake, whatever they end up doing next. And I just don't get it. Like I really, really just don't get it. So
They try to make everything competitive nowadays. They don't focus on cooperative experiences. They want like the competitive 5v5 or 5v1, like Dead by Daylight or Battle Royale kind of shit, where it's just, people against players. But I prefer PvE over PvP that's why I play more zombies and Modern Warfare than I do on the regular multiplayer. Because I just want to, and it's the same with like MMOs, right? I've never really dove into those PvP arena kind of stuff. I just want to go raid. I just want to go play the cooperatives and stuff.
Yeah. So no, I think that's both are great points. And we could be on the cusp of something that is just generational in terms of gaming, just because we've never seen this type of crossover previously. And these were, I mean, Hi-Fi Rush was a Game of the Year candidate. So it's not talking about like, I mean, we're not talking like Avowed or anything. Obviously, that's going to be a really huge title for Xbox, and they're going to want to keep that to their ecosystem. But I would even like the idea of potentially looking at maybe adding just some of your older library to, other game. Like, if you have an older game, why not add that to Game Pass? Like, if you want to move like like Days Gone and Game Pass would be so popular. I think that games like, maybe the original Spider-Man for PS, if they ever licensed it out, Xbox people would go insane, because there's already kind of a big frustration among gamers who are, Xbox loyalists, that Spider-Man will never come to their console. And part of that is, there's a part of
Oh,
me that
X-Men.
definitely like I agree with what they're saying, because I think Spider-Man is just such a global figure that it is hard to kind of just keep to one. And they have added it to PC. So I will say that, like, it's not that they have only kept it to PlayStation, but there is this whole huge ecosystem of gamers who maybe can't afford a gaming PC, or they've just been part of that. Once you've been stuck in one console for so long, it's hard to make the switch to another one. And so you've got guys who, or girls, or anybody who are, playing on Xbox, who really want to play Spider-Man. So I totally get that. In the same vein, console exclusivity has been a thing forever. PlayStation players have always wanted to play Halo. You got to switch. Like, that's just the rules. People who want to play Super Smash Brothers, you got to play on Nintendo. People who want to play Zelda, you have
We
to
got
play it on
PlayStation
Nintendo.
All Stars.
Yeah. Okay, that was a great game. I don't want to hear anything about it, and I'm so sad that we never got a sequel. There was rumors a few years back that we were potentially going to get a new game in that series, especially because PlayStation has this huge arsenal of characters now that you could potentially do. And if they wanted to do it as like a free to play game, I would play the shit out of it.
We still got the Nickelodeon All Stars and
Well, and what was the other one that WB made?
Multiverse.
Multiverses, yeah, which was it was pretty fun, actually. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I still follow that page where it's just like every day asking for Muscle Man to be added to Multiverses.
So, no, that's we will be watching, obviously, to see what happens as the official announcement, because this is all coming from just insiders in the gaming spectrum, but it is coming from people that we respect. That, Jeff Grubb is obviously one of the biggest names in gaming reporting. He's actually the one who leaked that Sea of Thieves is going to be coming to PlayStation and to Switch. So could be the start of something special. But
At the very least, it'll be the end of hope. Well, maybe not the end, but maybe we'll hear less of the console wars BS on Twitter.
one could hope.
That'll be finally peaceful.
Yeah. So with that, I think that's a perfect spot for us to be able to go ahead and end tonight's episode. A little bit shorter tonight, but again, stay tuned next week. First interview of 2024, and it is an absolute banger. So please make sure that you are watching our socials. We'll be teasing who it is. And we can't wait for you guys to hear. So I know that we're so excited, and we'll actually be doing 2 straight episodes of interviews. So stay tuned. We appreciate everybody who is listening, and we will catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Later.